Hey Nick, we need a tagline for the podcast.
No.
Real life opinions. Movie reviews told by fans and not critics.
Click. Yay, welcome back to another week of Real Life Opinions. It is me and Laura today. Hi, Laura.
Hi, everyone.
Jeff is away this week, so it's going to be, I think, our first one without him, so we miss him already. Okay, I'm over it.
Do we, though?
If he's listening, yes, we do.
Right.
So, we had a couple thoughts for a movie to do this week, and in the end, we thought, because it is the anniversary of its release today, we are going to go back to 1987 and do the classic, like my favorite words are, family-friendly horror. We're going to do The Monster Squad. What do you think of The Monster Squad?
I loved it.
Everybody loves it.
Well, okay. This generation, the new generation, the graphics were horrible. I loved it. I was 2 the year this came out.
I was 8. God, I'm old. Anyway, Dracula's bride's there. Yeah, there's not much. Yeah, they're very see-through dresses they wear.
Very.
What's that? Rewind it? No, just kidding. Anyway.
No.
Yeah, no, I watched this movie for the first time, probably 9 years old, because I don't think it would have come out right away on it, but I watched it on Super Channel. And I taped it, and I watched the shit out of my cassette that I'd had on it, and had it on DVD, and now I have it on Blu-ray.
Yeah. I can honestly say, this is not one that I own, surprisingly. However, one that I remember very fondly.
Well, I think I was at an HMV, and I was just randomly... I always just randomly look at movies when I go to stores that sell movies, and I saw this. I'm like, no way, this is on Blu-ray? So I just snatched it up. I think it was like $25, which, in retrospect, this is not a $25 movie, but it was still worth having, so...
For the classics, $25 is cheap.
Yeah. I was going to say, yeah, no, like she said, the effects... They don't hold up, however, they are 99%, well, okay, 95% practical, which, as Jeff and I have talked about before, practical effects made the movies back in the day. It wasn't special effects. Only the little whirlwind scenes were...
With special effects. The rest
yeah.
of it's puppeteering.
Yeah, which is great. My favorite is Andre Gower, although oddly I completely forget his name in the show now, the main guy. Yeah, they'll say it right away.
Yeah.
Anyway, but he's wearing a shirt that says Stephen King rules, so I thought that's awesome because I'm a fan. So.
Oh yes.
Yeah, see who that.
Anything Stephen King.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of want to delve into some of his movies sometime, but the thing with his movies is they're either really good or really, really awful. So.
You can always tell which ones that Stephen King approves of because he does a guest appearance.
Yeah, and so many people think that, he did an appearance in all of his. No, I think he did 6 or 8 at the most. 8. Is it 8? Yeah, and that's considering how many movies he's got, that's not a lot. So.
And one of his first ones was actually Sleepwalkers.
Nice.
He is 75 now.
Yeah, he was in Pet Sematary, wasn't he?
Not the original one.
No? What am I thinking of? Where he's the priest there. Is that Salem's Lot?
I think that's Salem's Lot.
Yeah.
Because, he wasn't in Pet Sematary.
Okay. I just remember priest in a graveyard overseeing, like, a funeral. But, yeah. Anyway, yeah, this movie, Monster Squad, back to the, topic at hand. Just because it's not Jeff doesn't mean I won't ramble incessantly about nothing in particular.
Oh, I'll help you if it's Stephen King.
Yeah. But yeah, this movie, Monster Squad, was just quintessential. Like, it has everything I wanted. Now, the big thing with this movie, all the fans know this, but if you're just casual and listening in, this movie has, of course, Dracula, Wolfman, Mummy, Creature from the Black Lagoon, and Frankenstein, yeah. Or Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Universal Studios would not give the rights to the imaging and the licensing for the IPs, for the intellectual properties. So they pitched this to Universal, and Universal passed. So they still wanted to make it, so they were told if they're going to make it, they had to change the look of the characters. And what they did such a great job of tweaking the characters just enough to make you feel like you're watching the original Universal monsters, while knowing for the hardcore fans that it's not. But
I'm getting those from the cat. Of course, it's a typical 80s movie, so they really highlight, well, bullying right off the bat. It's because that would be brought up nowadays. But like Corey said too, it's the monsters. It's how they tweak them ever so slightly. And the characters, too. I mean, that poor little girl.
I think what I liked, and I mean, there's pointless things that I like in a lot of things, but what I liked is Tom Noonan played Frankenstein's monster in this. And one of my favorite movies is Last Action Hero with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And the Ripper guy, the one with the axe, I can't remember his name, but maybe it was just the Ripper. But either way, that was also Tom Noonan, so that's kind of cool. So, Scary German Guy, just getting to that scene. A lot of people didn't really realize, like, in the movie you find out that he is a Holocaust survivor because he shows his arm and it's tattooed. Now, the actor, whom his name escapes me, actually was a Holocaust survivor, and it was his idea to put that in the movie. He was proud that he survived that, and I mean, he's no longer with us because he was old in this movie, but that was very cool of him to do, and he's done in a few other movies too, so good for him.
Okay, so everybody knows the myth with Dracula. He can't be out during daylight. Did you notice when this scene when the plane opens, it's bright daylight?
Yeah. Maybe the bat's okay to be out in the daylight. I don't know.
Bats don't fly in the day.
No. No, where we live here, too, there's a lot of bats at dusk. Actually, it was funny. We were having a fire the other day in the backyard, and Lisa's heard about how many bats we have here, but she's never really seen. We were sitting there, all of a sudden we heard, and the thing, it was just one. Usually they're in bunches, but it was just one, and he flew down low before flying by. She's like, "What was that?" I'm like, "Oh, it's just a bat."
I have one who lives in my backyard.
Yeah.
You have to name them in order to keep them, so we've nicknamed ours George.
Well, yeah, obviously. But I can't think of Vector, George. I like the
stamp right across the crate.
Yeah. Foreshadowing. I wonder what this is for.
See, light comes daylight.
Something that I always love to bring up. Well, see, it's kind of dusky. Anyway.
Kind of.
Duncan Regeer is the gentleman who played Dracula in this movie. He was actually from Lethbridge, Alberta. So, for all of us local people, Lethbridge is part of our province. But he beat out a relatively unknown actor at the time named Liam Neeson for the role. So, that's impressive.
That's actually very impressive. Though, I still say the Dracula in this one is far better than what Liam Neeson would have been.
Yeah, he had, this guy had a better face for, facial structure, bone structure in his face for it. I mean, who knows? Liam Neeson's a character actor. He might have been able to make himself look the part, but this guy did look the part, so.
It made him more old school, which I prefer.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I mean, after Bela Lugosi's run, there was a bit of a gap of thises and that's, but then after that was the Christopher Lee run of the Hammer films, and then after that was the Gary Oldman in the 1992 Bram Stoker's Dracula movie, and then there's just kind of been snippets here and there with whether it be Dracula or just other vampires, but I mean, Bela Lugosi was the best for sure.
By far.
But that was 1931, so yeah.
And yet, I own those ones too.
You know, I saw one Halloween, a Blu-ray box set of all the Universal movie monster things, and it was like $80, and I came so close to buying it, and I never did. So
when we had the video store there, we were selling those.
I think I saw it, but I think it was on DVD, and I'm so snobby.
We had the
so,
Blu-rays
did
too.
you? Okay.
Yep. You had to look up on top of the cooler for the Blu-rays.
Maybe I did. Maybe that's where I saw it then when I was thinking.
Probably.
I remember seeing it. So, the mom in this is Mary Ellen Trainor. She was every '80s mom, and then she was the psychiatrist in the Lethal Weapon movies. She died fairly young, actually. It was I think late '90s. She died. She would have only been in her 50s, I think. So.
That's sad.
But she was like, think of an '80s movie needing a mom, like The Goonies. She was Sean Astin and Josh Brolin's mom, and like she was everyone's mom. And then she was in Scrooged with Bill Murray, and that I think came out the same year after this. And yeah,
Wow,
she was
is
just great.
Scrooge that old now?
Yeah, 1988.
Wow.
Oh, we're doing that in December.
Oh no, that's okay. But wow.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. All like. I'm not even gonna actually get into it. I have a huge Christmas thing, like the movies, what to check, what not to. Yeah, I love most Christmas movies. I don't really like the sappy ones so much, except for Miracle on 34th Street. But
Okay, that one wasn't really sappy.
yeah, it was a little sappy.
You
but
can watch Hallmark.
yeah, no, I've never watched one of those.
Good.
But anyway, that's off topic. That's got to save all that for December. Speaking of, this is obviously, like, I consider this a Halloween movie because it's a monster movie and it's fun. But regardless, at some point, I need everyone to send in their picks for what we should do for our Halloween week movie. There's so many choices. I've got one. Yeah, I was going to say, I'm with her. I've got the one, but let's hear what everybody thinks. But the obvious answer right now is the 2009?
2009.
Yeah, Trick or Treat. So, was it 7?
No, it's 2009.
Okay. I do this a lot. I tend to get the years wrong, so the fact that when I get them right, I always second guess myself. Fun fact, I just read for the first time is the guy here who plays the Wolfman, like while he's still human, is Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite.
I've never seen it, so I'll believe you. But
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I just read that this year, and I think it's like I said, it's anniversary this year, so
Okay, what gets me here is like he's yelling.
lock me up.
No, he's yelling, "Kill me!" He's actually yelling, "Shoot me!" And he has to throw somebody through a window, take a gun, and shoot the ceiling before somebody actually shoots him.
Yeah. Yeah. But he was neat. The scene with the stolen mummy where his partner is making fun of the security guard.
Yes. I don't know if you notice in this scene too, the Egyptian statues aren't true to fact either.
Oh, probably not. It's way too much work.
And yet an ambulance drives by and they don't see the walking guy and...
Oh, he's busy. Look at him. He's got headphones on while driving. That's not safe, by the way.
And no seatbelt.
Well, at least he knows where an ambulance is. Why, the one thing, like, the makeup effects in this movie, why they were so good. Like, the transformation of the Wolfman, albeit in flashes, not a full shot, but all the special effects, makeup effects in this movie was done by the Stan Winston Company. So that's why it was so good. Stan Winston behind, like, Terminator, Aliens, like, all the big makeup movies were Stan Winston.
Dad just casually puts out a cigarette on the roof.
On a tar. Yeah. I miss drive-ins.
Me too. And the pop-up ones just aren't the same.
No, they tried. Town that I grew up in had drive-ins later than a lot, and they still have the grounds there for it. It's kind of funny.
So in Calgary on 17th Ave Southeast, you can still see the original drive-in. Everything's still there.
Awesome. I'd like to know where these guys live, because They show them living in a residential area near a town square, and yet the back of their yard is
A swamp.
a swamp. Yeah. Like, legit with, like, the trees and the swamp water and snakes, apparently. Yeah. It's weird, because the downtown set in this movie is the Universal backlot, so it'll look familiar if you've seen Back to the Future, all those movies. It's from that, so...
But so the only thing that I ever did question about this movie is okay, there's two things. Why is Wolfman walking so straight? And two, why does Dracula need a cane to summon the box?
I don't know, but if you remember the ears from the cane, does that cut to his neck, and then he puts the cane up and it connects lightning?
Oh yeah, there's that too.
But
yeah,
that's the best I could think of, because that part, albeit, was slightly lame. But oh, also Tom Woodruff Jr., who I can't think of something else, and he's famous for playing creatures in movies. He plays Gilman in this.
But still, you know what? They didn't have to call it the creature from the Black Lagoon. They could have just said Swamp Thing.
Yeah, but that's trademark too. By DC, of all things. I could just sit here and watch the movie and be fine.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that too.
But I'm sure you guys would be bored.
That cane is definitely beyond its time, even for the 80s.
Yeah.
They didn't telescope like that.
No, they had swords in.
Right.
Yeah, like, sadly, I don't know if this is going to be that long of a thing, because, like, I mean, you've got the monsters. The story of the movie basically is Dracula comes back and brings back all his other creatures to bring back the final creature, which is Frankenstein's monster, and then they're chasing after an amulet, which can take them to another plane or give them power. It doesn't take them to another plane.
So the premises of this story is there's a gem. And if Good gets it and says the right incantation using a virgin, of all things, they can send the monsters to another plane. But if Dracula gets his hands on it, he can make it so that the monsters rule the world.
Of course. The words are Klaatu Verata Niktu, aren't they?
Yes.
Yes.
No, they're not.
Okay. That's good, because we had Bruce Campbell here, we'd be in trouble, so...
Okay, somebody watch for the creeping hand.
What's it called? So yeah, they enlist the help of that neighbor who is German to help them translate a diary that the mom finds and buys his boy, that he finds out is actually Van Helsing's diary, but he can't read it, so they go to the German guy to translate it, and that's when they find out all the stuff that Laura said that I can't seem to remember. And it's just let the hijinks include. There's a music montage a la the 80s in this movie. There's two-dimensional characters. I mean, this...
And if you notice, too, what the mom writes on the board, it's not Van Helsing's diary, it's Van Halen.
That's right, yeah. Because she was so naive in this movie and so innocent. The little kid in here, and again, I don't know why I can't remember the characters' names in this movie now, but the little kid in this movie, the boy, sorry, not the girl, but the little boy in this movie that's part of the Monster Squad there, that is David Faustino's brother from Married with Children, Bud Bundy. That's his little brother.
See, there's another fun fact that I did not know.
Yeah, so
I do want to know how he's part of the Monster Squad, but so afraid of them.
Yeah. But he got the army to come
by
sending a letter in crayon.
Right?
How many of us hated this dad for not believing that there was something in his closet? Because there was.
Okay, but that was the typical 80s dad.
Yeah. And he has a My Pet Monster doll. That show just came out a year before this.
Right.
I watched that show religiously. I don't think my family was rich enough to buy me the actual stuffed thing, but I watched the show religiously. So, including the movie that nobody knew about.
Oh, I love the movie.
Yeah.
So, fun fact, I never had one of those dolls, but I did have a Raggedy Ann.
So you had Annabelle.
I had Annabelle.
I think my sister had one, and I can't remember if we had an Andy or not too, but we had a lot of things. Like there were Barbies, there was My Little Ponies, and I had the G.I. Joes and the He-Mans and the the wrestling figures. So And I love how they kind of self-aware of the one spot where it's like, how does this dog keep getting up in this clubhouse anyway?
It's a good question.
I'm assuming they could just carry it. He's a tiny little Jack Russell Terrier, but
That's not a Jack Russell Terrier.
isn't it? I don't know.
No, that looks like a beagle to me.
Oh yeah, I had another dog in my head when I was thinking of him. So, but yeah, just fat kid named Fat Kid. This movie was, like I said, it was so two-dimensional, but so much fun.
And like, again, you can tell there. I mean, you got their older, I guess, protector
Yeah,
dressed up as Fonzie.
Yeah, the whole Rudy thing kind of bothered me. I'm like, why is this apparently 16-year-old, if not 17-year-old, hanging out with a bunch of 12-year-olds? I mean, I get that the one guy's sister lives next door and he gets a shot of her with his camera and you don't get to see it, but you know exactly what it is. But it still doesn't make sense. Just because he saved the one kid from being bullied doesn't mean he belongs to hang out with 12-year-old kids.
Right? But okay, another question I've always had. How come underneath a regular house there's a dungeon?
You mean you don't have one?
No, not like this.
Well, glad you've never seen my basement.
If you've got steel trap doors and rats, we got a problem.
Especially in Alberta.
Have you noticed, just because you brought it up earlier, so the three characters sitting right there very much resemble the characters from Goonies?
Yeah, I could see that, especially with Horace, or Fat Kid, wearing a Hawaiian shirt, and that's what Chunk wore in the Goonies.
Yeah.
The other two, hit or miss. But I mean, again, family-friendly horror. They all kind of seem the same. One thing I just noticed, so obviously he's a Jewish German, or a German Jew, because he's got a menorah in the background.
His mirror has no glass.
Good. It does when they walk out there and
When they walk
Yeah.
out, but right now it has no glass.
cool.
See, right here, he's actually telling them exactly what I said earlier.
Yeah. Far be it for me to pay attention though.
And that they need a virgin.
I mean, I have to go ask. Sean is the one guy, the friend, like the second in charge guy. But what's it called? They go to ask his sister, and I just remember that part. It's like, I just need to know are you a virgin? Just need to know which degree that you have or have not been dorked.
Yes. Because, God forbid you say sex, but
Yeah.
it's just dorked.
Yeah, this was definitely just PG. There was no PG-13 in this. This was just PG.
Yeah.
They dropped the word bitch at the end, but that's it.
Okay, but, that's pretty tame for the 80s.
Yeah. The PG-13 rule with the F-bomb didn't start right away. Like, we had talked about how Temple of Doom and whatever the other one was the PG-13 movies, but even those, I don't think they had an F-bomb. It wasn't until later on that the unwritten humorous rule of PG-13 is you're allowed to say anything you want, just no F-bombs, but no, you're allowed one.
Yeah.
And that's it. And that's why, like, movies like X-Men Origins Wolverine, where or not X-Men Origins, but the one new X-Men one where they go find Wolverine and they ask him to join their team, and he's like, "Fuck off." And that was the one F-bomb in the entire movie.
That was,
Was it Days of Futures Past, or was
Yes.
it just First Class?
No, Days of Futures Past.
Anyway. Yeah, now Frankenstein's a good guy. Spoiler.
Love the platform shoes, too.
Yeah. He was tall and all to begin with, but, trying to make him menacing.
And if you notice, too, with him, the way that they did his makeup, he was not... So he's not painted like a corpse as they would have in 30s, 40s, but he just looks generally very old and decaying.
Yeah. Which, I mean, That's what he is.
Right?
It's okay. He's friends with us. Yeah. Getting sidetracked from this movie again. Such a great movie.
It is a good movie. He's also balding.
I mean, you know, after a while, when you're dead, you lose hair.
Well, and I understand that, but massaging out the kinks.
He got shoved, it hurt.
His bolts aren't as big either. Now that I'm actually noticing where they are, they're just tiny.
Yeah. No, like, part of the things we're talking about, how they tweak the characters, is the bolts on Frankenstein were not on his neck, they were on his temples. Yeah. It's the scene where he snaps a picture of the friend's sister, she's changing. Bogus. What's it called? It's, yeah, like I said, it's the anniversary of this movie now, so it's funny how when this movie first came out, yeah, it was talked about, but not to the extent. But now that social media is out there and the internet has a voice, everybody is coming out and saying how much they love this movie.
I think so. Yeah, people are coming out and saying how much they love it, but there's also all of those sites that are coming out that come out with the top 10 worst movies or whatever, and I always find that this one's on it. But then again, so's Lethal Weapon, or
I would never trust those.
right. I also don't trust Rotten Tomatoes.
Nobody trusts Rotten. Anybody who has any... I honestly don't trust anything that's opinion-based. Because opinions are very subjective. And I'm very forgiving with movies. You'll find that I say, I love this movie, I love that movie. And there's other people who are like, oh my god, it's the worst movie in the world. I'm like, I don't care. I love this movie. Art is subjective.
It is. And 90% of your critics' choices are literally just that. They're people who are paid to watch them. And I almost guarantee they get paid more and bribed to like certain movies.
Yeah, totally. I remember when I was doing movie reviews for the newspaper here in town, I was getting different... Like at one point I was getting free movies at the theater so I could catch the new movies. At the next point I was getting free movies at the video store. Next point would have been Blockbuster. Blockbuster, then the movie theater, then the video store. And I would get the free movies, but I would always use it to hype up the store. So no matter how awful the movie was, I'd be like, oh, check it out for yourself at the video store today.
Right.
And I obviously didn't make a difference. They still closed. So I tried.
We had 12 great years.
Yeah, you guys were amazing. So as a guy, me, who was the local Blockbuster guru, I was there for 6 years. I locked the door for the last time as the manager. And then Laura, who worked for the video store and
Movie gallery.
The owner either way. We both were video store geeks, and like I said, I worked in a theater too. But you're a special breed if you're a video store geek, and I have no problems embracing that. So,
and they make business cards
that literally just say the Monster Squad on it. Not a phone number, not an address, not a name even, just the Monster Squad.
And then you've got Rudy, who's in shop class making silver bullets.
Yeah, that's the fact that he found a mold for a bullet. Not to mention, I mean, let's get really into it. He's making literally an entire Full Metal Jacket, including tips. Now, if you know anything about bullets, you don't fire the entire bullet. You fire just the tip. And so, I don't exactly know how those bullets would work.
And this is where he finds the naked pictures.
Yeah. I like how the little girl doesn't know what's going on, so she's pretending to grab two, and then there's the little boy who definitely doesn't know what's going on.
Right? And Frankenstein's all happy. And here's Dracula thinking, oh, I'm just going to drug Wolfman with probably Oxy.
Probably. Excedrin.
I mean, he does a pretty good job at being doped.
I think what was really cool is the scene at the beginning where he's standing over the swamp and he says, let it begin, and the lightning flashes. It flashed at one point and his face turns into a skull just for a brief second. And the first time I watched it, I'm like, did I just see that?
with red eyes.
Yeah, with
Those
red eyes.
girls are too old to be schoolgirls.
Yeah. In the 80s, there was no such thing as schoolgirl-age schoolgirls.
Right.
What's it called? I mean, going back to what I was saying, like, it was the same thing in The Exorcist when you watch it, and the demon face flashes on the back of the door, on the hood of the stove, and on the girl's
Only in the
face.
extended.
Yeah, that still made me second watch it every time.
Yes.
I'm like, am I seeing that? Okay, I am good. Not losing my mind. I'm not being possessed by the movie.
Even now, even to date, I will rewind, and I know they're there, but I will rewind just to make sure that I've seen them.
Yeah. I only ever watch the director's cut now. Like, I've got the box that has both the director's and the theatrical, but I only ever watch the director's cut of The Exorcist. It's so much better. That's something interesting. They're making another requel of that movie.
Is it a requel or is it a complete remake?
No. Have you seen the trailer yet?
I haven't.
Oh, watch the trailer.
Oh.
Chris's or Reagan's mom is back.
Okay.
Yeah, like Ellen Burstyn. So, there's rumors that if nothing else in the closing credits, because it's the same guy who did the Halloween remakes. They're going to be making a trilogy out of this one, and it's the same director. So, from what I hear, Reagan might make an appearance in the closing credit to set up the next movie.
Well, they did the Exorcist TV series.
Yeah, which wasn't bad. So
I actually didn't mind it. I loved the plot twist at the end of the first season. The second season goes right off the rails, but...
Well, and that's what's going to be hard about these new ones. Like, it's not a story that can last 3 movies, in my opinion. Like,
No.
Exorcist 2, like the originals, Exorcist 2 was not good. It was more of a prequel anyway. And then Exorcist 3... Well, no, Exorcist 2, sorry. It was Exorcist 3, I think, was more of a prequel. But Exorcist 2 had Reagan and her mom. And
Her mom wasn't in the second one.
no, I can't
No,
remember.
it was just Reagan.
Yeah. But either way, the second and third movies were fairly forgettable. But what's it called? With these movies, they've got a really good story going. Like, I've seen the trailer, like I said, it looks amazing. They've got a really good story going. I just don't know if they can do 3 movies again.
So, I'm just going to bring us back on point here. Is Rudy drinking a beer?
It's like a dad's root beer, probably. Anyway,
The
yeah, he
bottle's
probably
too
is.
big.
It probably is. I'm not gonna lie. That dude's sister is actually pretty hot. Anyway, off topic. Well, there was Steve, but he doesn't count. Doesn't count!
That's later.
So now they've got Frankenstein on their side. And by on their side, he's a brainless corpse, essentially. So he just knows he's with these boys now. Because he was originally told by his master, which was Dracula, to murder the boys. And he's explaining to them right now, it's like, Master's near, Master wants children dead. And I'm thinking,
Why am I
obviously he doesn't know what that means. I was thinking about this whole monster thing. Maybe we could be a math squad. We could solve math problems.
No.
Boy, would this movie suck if that happened.
Yes.
I love how the creepy
Dynamite in
house
the
that
wall.
this whole thing with the dungeon basement. His house number was 666 Shadowbrook Road. Yeah, that's not at all like
A dead
MacGuffin
giveaway.
there, so.
This house very much remind me of the Monsters.
Yeah, kind of a hint of the Freddy house on the inside, not the outside. Well, kind of on the outside.
More
but not
on
really.
the door when you walk in. Well,
You got the
just the
stairs
door,
and you
yeah.
got the living room. I mean, that's standard house layout, but
if it wasn't dark, you could almost construe it that the living room was burnt.
yeah. I actually just watched Nightmare 1 and 2 and half of Part 3 the other day. I was gonna plan on watching the whole, doing a marathon out of it the one night, and I just didn't want to.
I cannot stand number 2.
Nobody can stand number 2. I made a list, and I don't know if you saw my post in there, but I made a list of what's everybody's favorite order for the Nightmare movies, and I have New Nightmare is actually my favorite. I actually like it more than the original, but then the original right afterwards. So,
See, if I'm gonna watch them, it's definitely gonna be 1 and 3.
well,
I'll skip 2 altogether.
3 is number 3 for me too, because that is one giant story. Is 1, 3, and 7.
Yes.
So,
And that's generally the way I'll do it. Is 1, 3, 7, and then I'll
yeah,
put the other
4
ones
is
in.
okay. 5 was pretty bad. 6 was a lot of fun, but you could watch it as a standalone movie. So, it was awful in every department, but it was still fun.
Wolfman's got nards.
Yeah, we just had that scene. You heard a little clip at the beginning there. Yeah, Wolfman's got nards. Best that line is still quoted to this day to people. So,
Well, like I said, while I was on holidays there,
See-through.
we were actually explaining this movie to my kids. And I know they've seen it. But, we're quoting that part and they're looking at us like we're weirdos.
yeah, I mean, the shoe fits. But
You're lumped in that same category there.
I am more so than you. Let's not lie here. I remember working at a store once that sold TVs, and we had a TV we could set up with a player and sound system and all that, and I brought this movie in to watch on there.
Well, I can honestly say working at the store there, this was a staple during Halloween. That garlic would be rotted.
Yeah, right. And look how white it is still. Like, seriously. Yeah, and trust me, I've seen rotten garlic. There's a lot of garlic in my household because we love garlic. So I guess any people's wonderings about me being a vampire is answered with that.
He's definitely not a vampire, but he might be warding off Dracula.
Maybe. Like I said,
See, there's no garlic on the pizza.
that's what I'm saying.
So it's in the sauce.
Yeah, no, any recipe that calls for a couple cloves of garlic usually ends up being a whole bulb with me. So
Yeah.
you measure that shit with your heart.
Oh, you definitely do.
So
If they tell you to, finely chop it, I tend to get the garlic press.
yeah, so much work, but it's less worth than chopping, I guess.
Oh, I'll take the garlic press any day.
Perhaps we should all go back to my place for some pie.
So, it's not green anymore.
Yeah,
They're good.
they're lights. Yeah.
So, better question. When did the kids with the bike all of a sudden decide to go get the scary German guy?
Give or take between now and when they did.
So when it fades out, that's when they went.
I know I made this comment when it came to Gremlins, which of course was also an 80s movie. But why did the black guy have to die in this?
Does he die?
Yeah.
I do not remember him dying.
Yeah, when Dracula goes to their house and he takes the dynamite and he throws it under the cop car and
Yeah.
yeah. Although I love how they quote unquote kill the mummy in this scene here, where they take a bit of his strand, they put it on an arrow and they shoot it into a tree and just watch him unravel. So he's not a threat, but this was a badass scene. So
After the dog, decides to play tug of war with his bandages.
yeah.
And he knows it's coming because he just looks
Yeah.
at the camera all of a sudden.
Kind of look up, oh crap.
The other thing with this one too, being detectives, they wouldn't have been in a cop car.
No problem. I guess they both were. Yeah, because they weren't in uniform. So, and they drive through Dracula's car. Never really explained why that was a thing, but it didn't matter. It was cool.
No, they kind of need to explain why that's a thing. One thing about me, I need to know. And of course, when did Dracula learn how to drive? And why a hearse?
Well, I mean, why not a hearse?
I don't know.
The first question's still valid, but why not a hearse? I like how he thinks they're actually in their clubhouse. He throws a stack of dynamite into their clubhouse, but there's no light on in there. So why he would have thought? Plus, he just had the kids at his house. So I don't know what he was trying to prove with that. Oh, now they're gonna shoot Dracula. Oh, and there goes his friend. There goes the partner.
Okay, with how long that wick was, he had more than enough time to get out.
Yeah, it's amazing how.
Or fuse.
Yeah. Ting. Sorry, I go back to Robin Regier. He was so perfect looking.
And that is definitely one of the differences between this Dracula and the original. They bounce off of him in this one, and they hit the house. Again, curious minds need to know. Whereas every other Dracula would have just, like, spit them out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like sometimes he's transparent, sometimes he's not. Sometimes his car apparently is transparent, sometimes it's not. I mean, you can't focus on plot holes in an 80s movie because you will
There's
be here
a lot.
forever. Yeah, so. But yeah, this is then where they go to the town square, which again, like I said,
They have a Burger King.
totally the Back to the Future / Universal lot. So
Yeah, because they're actually running into the church with the clock tower
yeah,
right now. Or attempting to.
yeah, I mentioned it before again, probably with Goonies, but if you ever get a chance to do the backlot tour at Universal Studios, do it. It's so amazing. So now the sister is who they think is the virgin is going to read the words to try and stop this, and turns out nothing happens because of Steve. And Steve does count.
I'm part of the goddamn squad, aren't I?
Just Sport Mart.
No, okay. In the 80s, that kind of compound bow that he had would have been very hard to come by.
But they had a Sport Mart.
That they didn't go into!
You could have bought it the day before.
He was busy making silver bullets.
Or, no, he doesn't look like someone who would normally be a hunter.
But now they're going into the sporting goods store.
Yeah. This is a cool scene. Like, the dad clips Dracula in the wing, and so he goes crashing through a store window, and then when he finds him, he's halfway transformed between man and bat, and it's pretty cool looking. So, fuck on this, you son of a bitch.
And then they blow up Wolfman.
But then he comes back together because it's not a silver bullet. There's a scene in this movie where they're quizzing Rudy if he can become a member of the Monster Squad. So they give him like monster trivia, and the one was like 2 ways to kill a werewolf, and he's like, shoot him with a silver bullet, and well, that's it. You shoot him with a silver bullet. Nope, sorry, wrong. Well, what's the second? What? The second way to kill a werewolf? Old age? Accident with power tools? Like, they start making jokes that nobody knows, and in this one, they're thinking, oh, they blew him up, it's fine, but then he forms himself back together, and he's still alive. So, holding true that the only way to kill a werewolf is to shoot him with a silver bullet. Which, again, based on the metallurgy he used in school, those should not have worked.
I still want to know why that school has.
I mean, maybe, the shops were a lot cooler back then. I know that's one thing that's sorely lacking, in my opinion, from a lot of high schools now, is a good shop.
I don't know. Like, Alan did a pretty good... Well, he's in shop. But he's also in welding. So, they're doing pretty good there.
Well, that's good. I mean, back when I went to school, we had an industrial arts lab, a photo lab, and a woodworking lab, and that was it.
You had industrial arts?
Yeah.
Well, you're lucky.
Yeah, it was it was very, 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 very touched on the surface only industrial arts.
We had woods.
We didn't even have digital industrial arts. We had paper and grid paper industrial arts.
Yeah, I got to do t-shirts.
That was home ec.
No, the t-shirt printing, we got to do that.
I don't know if we got to do that.
Okay.
Anyway, we got to wrap up here. He just got shot with the silver bullet, and he's back to human. He's like, thank you, and then he dies.
And, eventually, little girl saves the day.
Yeah. Little girl who they never thought of from the beginning, the 5-year-old. Is she a version? Yeah. So they get her to do it. And Van Helsing comes through the portal and grabs Dracula, sucks them all in. Good guys win. Then the army come, because like I said, the little boy writes a crayon letter to the army to come help. There's monsters, and they come. So taxpayers' money at good use right there.
I suppose, end of the movie too, a lot of cops die.
Yeah, that's true. A couple broken necks, squashed heads. But yeah, we're running out of time. Final thoughts?
Still one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
There's just no doubt about it. This is a must watch, especially at Halloween.
Yes.
Introduce your kids to it.
Yeah, this should be the first horror movie you introduce to your kids.
Yes. This one and Gremlins.
And Gremlins, yeah. No, we definitely missed Jeff's voice. He definitely filled in the gaps. We have a little bit more gaps versus when it's with Jeff, but we had fun. We had fun. Did you have fun?
I had fun.
You had fun. I had fun.
Why is Dracula covered in lightning? Oh, I'm going to ask you tons of questions here now, Corey.
All right, we'll get a chance to let's watch this movie if you haven't already. If you have watched it, you know exactly what we're talking about. Enjoy your day. Jeff will be back next week, and we'll see what we do from there. Have a good night, everyone.
Night.
Is that it?